Hi, I'm Victoria Coker, a multidisciplinary artist, marketer, certified software engineer, and changemaker with over 15 years of experience helping communities and creators grow. I founded Black Webfest, an organization that celebrates and uplifts Black voices in film, technology, and emerging media. I'm also a former Interledger ambassador. In this episode, I'm excited to dive deeper into the creative vision that sparked my new miniseries. I'll explore the themes that motivated me to embark on this project, the experiences that shaped my ideas, and the unique perspectives I want to share with you. Additionally, I'll highlight what you can expect from this series and why it's worth your time to tune in. Join me as we uncover the stories and the insights that lie behind my miniseries, Unbanked in America, Exploring the Financial Divide. I'm joined by Lavelle Karama, the Interledger Foundation's Grant Program Officer, who will be interviewing me for this special episode. Hi, Lavelle.
Hey, Victoria. Thank you so much for having me as your host for this episode. Before we continue in our conversation, can you please explain to our listeners what it means to be underbanked or unbanked?
Yeah, I think people have different definitions, but the easiest definition is someone who doesn't have access or doesn't have a formal bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's underbanked means they may have access to account. Maybe they have a cash app. Maybe they have a bank account, but they really can't afford to have the bank account, right? They can't afford the fees. They don't have a reliable checking account. They don't have a reliable savings account. Like maybe they're almost out of the account and frozen out of the account, right? So I've definitely been underbanked before where I'm like, okay, I have to kind of close this account because I can't even afford to manage it anymore.
Oh, wow.
The fees get crazy. Like you put it in, you pay all your bills, and then you have to if you don't have a certain amount of money in your account, then they could charge you a fee every month, right? Or sometimes they let you overdraft your account, and then you have to pay the overdraft plus like a $50 fee or something.
What I would love to know is what inspired you to create this two-part miniseries? Why did you create a series about the unbanked and underbanked communities in the United States?
Really, after working with Interledger Foundation for so long, I've been a part of the grantee process from almost the beginning. And I've been to every summit and somehow supported and worked within the community. I know that part of the mission is financial inclusion. And I really wanted to address some of the non-technical issues that were the obstacles for people who were unbanked and underbanked. I didn't even know what the word unbanked and underbanked meant before even starting this process, before joining the organization. And so exploring it alongside the organization and learning more, I realized that oftentimes, especially with the tech that Interledger is building, the protocol, we don't talk about some of the things that other factors that are contributing people to be unbanked and underbanked. And I kind of wanted to investigate and dive deeper into that. And this project actually allowed me to explore that.
What I know is that one of the premises for your project was the 2021 FDIC reports. Could you tell us more about how that report shaped your approach towards the series?
Yeah, the FDIC report really was the starting point. It kind of was a place where I can say, these are facts, right? Because I had some inklings and some thoughts. I had my own personal thesis, but the FDIC report actually had a lot of the data that showed what I was experiencing, one, firsthand, because I'm a native New Yorker, someone who lives in New York and in America. So I actually am a part of these populations. And on the FDIC, the 2021 FDIC report, you can actually see a map. And on the map, you can actually see different populations who are unbanked and underbanked in each state. And it was interesting to find that Mississippi, along with New Orleans, Louisiana, and New York, which I'm from, are some of the largest unbanked populations. Mississippi having the largest amount. There's an updated report. There's one from 2023, the FDIC National Survey of Unbanked and Underbanked Households report. If you just go on the website, you can find it, and you'll still see that Mississippi actually has the largest population. So I really wanted to dig deep there, and then also if you look further on that website, you could actually find a breakdown by race. And that information was really important because it allowed me to say, okay, I'm a Black woman. And so for me, when I look, I know these are experiences that are happening in my community, but now I actually was able to have data to show that Black and Hispanic or Latinx, Latino people were also deeply impacted, sometimes 3 times more impacted, regardless of their income, by being unbanked and underbanked.
So before the report, because you started out, what is it, answering your question about having your own thesis before diving deeper and having better understanding of it. What was the thesis? Because I'm really curious what your own experience was as well.
Yeah, so for me, at the same time, kind of working along with Interledger, I had learned about a phrase called financial trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I was like, oh, I have financial trauma. And the more I would talk in spaces and talk to people, they would talk about financial trauma. They would say, oh, okay, I don't trust banks because of this reason. I don't trust banks because of historic reasons. And I was like, okay, there's more than people just don't have access to a credit card. And there's things like banking deserts. I didn't even know that existed till doing this research, that there were things called banking deserts where people didn't have access. A lot of people know about food deserts where there's no access to food in certain neighborhoods and people have to eat unhealthy things or don't have, access to fruits and vegetables, but people don't usually know about banking deserts.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding what these terms were, like seeing these things is one thing, but then understanding what the terms were was what I really learned while doing the research.
So you had 2 guests for this series, and I think what is both are highly knowledgeable within their own field of expertise. Could you dive a little bit deeper into who the guests were?
Yeah. So I had 2 amazing guests. Like doing this research, I talked to a lot of people, but actually had 2 amazing guests for the podcast for the series. One was Sheena Allen. She's an amazing entrepreneur and she's working in the fintech space, also educating people, underserved and underrepresented communities about financial inclusion and financial literacy. And now she's actually a community ambassador for Interledger, which is amazing and great. And so now you actually have her talents on the team, so I'm excited about that. And then the other is actually Dr. Latanya White. And Dr. Latanya White, she's an amazing educator and entrepreneur as well. She's developed a framework around a term she's developed called dynastic wealth. It's really interesting. And I'm just excited for everyone to kind of learn. She also is working on getting certified around financial trauma. So she gets to talk a little bit about that too.
So what surprised you the most as you dug into the research and the conversations for this project?
So I knew a bit about Dr. Latanya White before speaking with her, but Sheena, I really didn't know. It was just from doing research that I got to learn more about her and the work that she's done in the past. And during the interview, she spoke about Walmart. And I didn't know that Walmart, like you think of alternative financial institutions,
Mm-hmm.
but Walmart is one of the largest like institutions supporting.
Oh.
Yeah, like you can go to Walmart and some people, I'm not sure if it was like cash checks, but you can get cash. You
Mm-hmm.
could get cash with a credit card. You can do different things. And in areas where there are banking deserts, they use these places to actually access funding. So I
Oh,
just thought
wow.
that was so interesting. That really shocked me and I learned something new.
I didn't know that either, to be honest. Could you share a couple of moments or any moments that really stayed with you during the interviews?
Just learning more about these communities, I think, when speaking to Sheena, because she grew up in Mississippi, that was
Mm-hmm.
really the reason why I really wanted to interview her for the series.
Mm-hmm.
It was really just learning more about how these people kind of have to navigate and don't necessarily have the access. Like, I am from New York, born and raised, Brooklyn, New York, and I'm in a city. I'm in a major city.
Yeah.
And I sometimes forget how much access I have to things. But when you hear about people who don't have access and in so many different ways and then have to navigate and figure it out, it stays with you. You're like, oh, wow, there's these other people, especially I think what a lot of people don't understand. Like, this is in the United States. This isn't in the global South. This isn't somewhere else. This is in the United States.
But you did mention, like previously in the conversation, that you have your own experiences within your own communities and then within New York. So how does a locale such as Mississippi differ from New York?
Yeah. So for New York, we have banks. There are places, but for the most part, there are banks in a lot of different places. I think one of the places that really are impacted by maybe having some banking deserts are the Bronx, but even if that is a train ride or a bus ride, and
Yeah.
we have public transportation so people can access it. I listed a number of different key factors that people can kind of look at. For New York, it's really about low income or people who have low to no income. That's why they're unbanked and underbanked. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a low income, right, if you can't afford to have the banks and you can't pay the fees,
Yeah.
then it makes it really hard for you to have a bank account when
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes these larger institutions charge you fees to have a bank account, or you have to have a minimum of 500, 5,000. But if you're living check to check, you can't afford that.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you have to go to like payday loan places, or you have to go to check cash in place. And now
Mm-hmm.
you don't have an account, so you don't have that access. And I think that's really where New York differs from Mississippi, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
some sort of access, but even though we have the access, if you don't have income or you have low income, you can't afford to be in these traditional places.
Absolutely. It's very beautiful because you're also highlighting the systemic challenges at the moment as well. But what I'm interested in as well is not only why is it important to highlight these systemic challenges and potential innovations within the space, but also I would love to know if you have more examples as well, like from other regions or other conversations you might have had.
Yeah, I actually did speak with other people outside of the two podcast episodes. I spoke with someone who was based in Texas, and they did more work with Indigenous folks. And so it was definitely difficult in terms of like one, banking deserts. There's a big problem amongst all communities, trust within banking systems. People don't trust the banks because of historical reasons, I should say. So they don't trust the banking systems. And just sometimes you don't read the small print. There's small print that says, if you do this, you have a fee. You don't know, you see the fee and you're like, what happened? And then there's issues with financial literacy that's also across the nation. If you don't know how to, set up an investment account, you won't be able to, right? That's why there's these platforms that are so easy. If you don't know how to, some people don't know how to write a check,
Yeah.
right? So something as small as that, or how to manage a checkbook, or how to manage your balances. And that's where other platforms kind of win. And then some people think that a Cash App is a bank account, and it's not really a traditional bank account, right? They're endorsed by these larger institutions. So people don't have the same access or same knowledge or same trusted community, because you can go into a bank, you could talk to a banker. When you have a Cash App, who can you really talk to? You can't really speak to anyone. Also, another thing that was really relevant was also a piece of technology. So if people don't have access, sometimes people say, oh, well, you can have access to a bank account online. Some
Mm-hmm.
people don't have access. One, maybe their technology is old or outdated, but they also don't know how to use the technology, or they don't have broadband services. There's still issues across America around not having connectivity.
Yeah.
So that's also an issue.
I find it very beautiful how you, within these 15 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes, that kind of like describe the entire ecosystem, but also your learning. So what do you hope the listeners will take away from these conversations?
Yeah, I thought about the community at Interledger first when working on this
Mm-hmm.
project. Like, that was important to me. I really hope that they take the factors beyond the technology that they're personally working on to
Yeah.
kind of be a little bit more sympathetic, or take on the user's journey, because
Mm-hmm.
the user's journey may not be their journey, right? You kind of
Yeah.
have to have these learnings to understand how to create a better product.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that they can learn and then build upon that.
What I find very interesting about the answer of your question is that you draw in, I don't want to say the innovators, but the technologists, the builders, and how we need to have empathy, but also being able to listen to build innovations or technology that will fit certain markets or a certain demographic for it to be better aligned. And I really love that you highlighted that as well. So looking ahead, what are the next steps for you and for the broader work of building a more inclusive digital financial future?
Yeah, for me, it's really continuing the work with Interledger. Right now, we're trying to do some research around CDFIs and other ways to support underbanked and unbanked communities in America. So I'm just here kind of being a listening ear, providing resources and information in any way and shape and form I can. I'm a part of the community. I've been a part of the community, so I'm excited to see what's next.
What do you dream about, or how do you envision the future? If you talk about continuing to work for what is CDFIs, underbanked and unbanked communities, what would be your ultimate dream?
Yeah, to me, I really am big on equity, right? I want
Hmm.
everyone to have the equity that they deserve, right? Everyone to have access to financial technology if they need it, or financial literacy and education. So just finding different points. I'm always thinking about ways to innovate and how to solve those solutions. I don't think it's one particular way,
Hmm.
but if everyone has access in a way that makes sense, then I think we'll get there, but we're not there yet. But I just really believe in ownership. I want people to
Hmm.
kind of be able to own their own, whatever that looks like. If it's a home, if it's possibly just having a bank account, if it's just being able to access funds when they need and it's
Hmm.
fair and equitable. To me, that's what the future looks like. I just think we're, working on different pain points, like back to kind of the factors, like some people need broadband, some people
Yeah.
need access to a bank account, some people need financial literacy. So just trying to find out what's the best way to do that, because it's a small group. It's not like we can solve every problem. So I'm hoping we can solve a little bit, at least a small portion of it, and look back in years that we built a legacy that's still standing.
What I find very interesting about the project that you're researching is the fact that because of the vastness of the United States, there are so many different communities living within the country and so many different needs, that there's so many factors that you have to think about if you think about digital connectivity, because people might not be connected to the internet, a lower income, which then entails that you can't participate. But also the general question is like, what do you need for economic participation? And what is fair as well, and what is safe, and what is respecting of their privacy to build the trust that is needed, because you are dealing with communities that have had,
Predatory.
yeah,
Yeah.
historic speaking, have been not being able to benefit from the systems in place. There's so many factors in place. I really, really hope that even though it's like, what is it, baby steps that we're making and everybody's trying to help and build, that what is it, if we look back, even if it's like 30 or 50 years, that you can say, okay, we put something down that shaped this.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Like, I think all the work I'm doing, I'm like, I want to change. I want to do some kind of change in the world. Like, I want something to stand out. Thanks, Lowell, so much for joining us. I really appreciate you asking these questions because it really helped like set the pace for the rest of the series.
Thank you so much for having me as well.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. I hope it provided you with a clearer understanding of the project and better insight into my creative process. I'm excited to announce that there will be a 2-part mini-series next, featuring discussions with Dr. Latanya White and Sheena Allen. In these episodes, we will delve deeper into our respective areas of expertise. Thank you.